Okay, perfect. Hello, everybody. This is Mike Thomas. I'm a health coach, and I'm here today with Claire. And she's been a client of mine for a little while, and I wanted to just touch base with her about her journey, her plant-based journey. So I asked Claire if she'd spend maybe 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes just discussing how it's gone specifically, as well as I want to get a little bit into towards the end of the call, a little bit about health coaching and what she feels value in the process of being coached by a health coach. So initially, Claire, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi, thanks, Mike. I am about to turn 66 years old. I am married, have 2 kids. I have a grandchild that's 1 year old. I am about to retire in the end of December, which I'm pretty excited about. I, just a little background. When I was growing up as a kid, I didn't eat super healthy. This is, not a dig, but I was raised by parents that went through the Depression. So, canned vegetables, boiled canned I didn't like vegetables. I didn't like salad. I ate a lot of junk food growing up and such. So I didn't grow up with a real healthy background. On and on through the years. I think I went on my first diet when I was 15. It was the Atkins, I believe. Yeah, I just remember I would cut hot dogs in half and broil them and not have a bun. And how healthy is that?
Yeah.
And then on and off, I would diet. I would, lose 10, 15 pounds, gain it back, for a long time. In my late 20s, early 30s, I joined Weight Watchers, and that's the most success I had up until now, till I started plant-based. I lost at the time, 27 pounds. I kept it off. I became a leader at Weight Watchers.
Yeah.
And it was mainly portion control, but eating a very, allegedly, healthy, balanced diet. But I always, craved more carbs, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And then from that point, then I had kids, and the next time I tried to diet, I could always drop at least 10 pounds, following those kind of principles, but I couldn't get past that, and I was always hungry.
Yeah.
So fast forward to about a year and a half ago, I ran into my friend Rose, who looked fabulous. She looked healthy. I could tell she'd lost weight. I said, "Oh my gosh, you look great." So that's when I started thinking about, plant-based, and I can, this might morph into maybe another question, but when I talked to her,
Sure.
she explained what she was doing, whole food, plant-based. She told me about watching the documentaries like Forks Over Knives and Game Changers. She told me about you and said that they had been working with you, and she'd gone to a lecture and heard you talk, and that's how they got started. And I was intrigued because I had already done some things to try to be healthier.
Right.
I did not ever want to go on statins, and so I was already taking plant-based supplements and using some essential oils instead of putting some peppermint on my temple instead of taking some Advil. So I was in my own head trying to do things a little more healthily.
Right.
So that's kind of my diet journey of 66 years in 5 minutes. So.
No, I think you nailed it. That's very, very helpful to kind of understand what you've been experiencing, some of the challenges that you had, and then running into Rose about a year and a half ago. And Rose and her husband were both clients of mine for a while. And so tell me a little bit about then what happened and how it evolved into the process that you've been going through.
Well, the first time I talked to Rose, we stood outside in, I think, cold weather, for about 40 minutes talking. And I had mentioned my frustration that I do have a terrible family history of heart issues.
Sure.
And that over the years, I was already doing some of the supplements and things because my cholesterol had crept up over 200. And my doctor had said, and this was 5 or 6 years ago, my doctor had said, if it keeps going up, you're going to probably have to go on a statin. And I said,
Right.
I don't want to. So
Absolutely.
I had tried to do things on my own, and I was eating more fruits and vegetables. I was, yeah, I don't do dairy, wasn't doing any dairy. Um, I was already using almond milk. So I was really trying to do things in my
Right.
head that I thought would, and I did lower it a little bit
Mhm.
by doing all that. And so she said, I'm going to let my friend Mike know about this, and I'm going to give you his contact information if you want to look into this more. But she really did suggest, watching the documentaries first and
Right.
getting an idea. And I think we were getting up towards Christmas time, and so
Mhm.
I don't know when we started working together. Maybe January,
Yeah, it was January. That's right.
December, or
Been about a year
January,
and a half.
and I and that was about it. I was more than willing to try something else.
Right.
So that's how I came to meet you
Yeah.
and start working with you. So
Yeah. And so initially there was some challenges, some wins. Maybe let's talk about some of the challenges initially.
the biggest challenge for me starting off was I felt overwhelmed. I was kind of gung ho.
Hmm.
And I know I went into the grocery store the first time and I was there like 2 hours and I hardly came out with anything. I didn't
Right.
know what to buy.
Right.
So besides fruits and vegetables. So and then I didn't know what to eat and I didn't
Mhm.
know what to make. And I knew, I get sick of food easily. So I knew that I was going to get sick of salads, which I did. And I was kind of lost. And so I reached out to John and Rose first and said, what do you people eat?
Right.
And so, they were great. They sent me recipes and everything. And then when I started working with you, you sent me recipes. I have other challenges food wise, which is I don't really like tomatoes. I'm not
Hmm.
a huge fan of chickpeas. I'll eat them, but
Right.
it's not like, oh, yum. So, I seemed like a lot of the recipes had tomatoes and chickpeas in it. So, I tried several dishes
Hmm.
that ended up in the garbage can. I just
Right.
tried making things and it was kind of learning to cook differently, learning to shop differently and everything.
Right.
And so that would be the biggest challenge. And one of the positive of that is when you understood that I was struggling, you're
Hmm.
the one that said, yeah, just try to do, one dinner a week or two
Hmm.
dinners a week and work up to it and how to
Right.
plan ahead instead of just walking into the store saying and I would buy too much stuff and then I was throwing things away. It was
Right.
just, yeah, it was kind of a mess. So the best thing advice, not maybe not the best advice, but the best advice in the beginning
Hmm.
was just take a breath and to do it slow and do it in your
Right.
own time. And you assured
Sure.
me that some people just do meatless Mondays or some people only do it
Hmm.
50% of the time. And I don't have to be
Hmm.
perfect and I don't have to do it every day and I can work my
Yeah.
way into it. So for me, that was great because that's what I needed to do. I couldn't jump in head first.
Very
I
good.
was too overwhelmed. So
Very cool. Very cool. You explain it. So it's so real because this is what you lived. But I do remember those conversations and some of your frustration initially by being overwhelmed, which and throwing away some food sometimes or not knowing what to buy and where do I go from here. And that's
yeah,
so common with a lot of the clients that I
right,
have because they know and they want, but how to is the process of just kind of working through
right.
those coaching sessions. So I'm glad that was beneficial for you. So maybe throw out a few wins that you feel like you've had over the course of the last year and a half of being plant-based.
Um, some of the biggest wins are that my cholesterol, and I'm going to double check because I checked that my most recent cholesterol is 180.
Mhm.
It continues to drop. A year ago, July, it
Mhm.
was 193.
Okay.
So it went, it jumped down pretty significantly for me.
Right.
All of my blood levels are in the normal range, which is
Great.
awesome.
Yes.
when I looked back, tried to look back about 5 years. There was always something up or in the
Sure.
red zone.
Sure.
So that's probably the best. I've lost 30 pounds
Oh.
and I'm maintaining it very easily.
Hmm.
Which is surprising to me because when
Hmm.
if I have an off day or a meal that yuck, I uh I expect I'm going to gain 5 pounds
Right.
or something, and I don't because I just get
Right.
right back on and I'm fine.
Hmm.
So yeah, so those are the biggest gains for that. Obviously, I feel good.
Okay.
I um, the funny thing is, people always. I was just talking to someone when I was leaving work. She's a guard there at the building,
Hmm.
and I said, "Hey, I'm going to retire at the end of the year." And she says, "You can't be old enough to retire. You look too young." And
Oh,
I hear that all the time,
that's
and
so
I'm sure
great.
part of it is genes. But I do feel, I feel like everything's better. I don't dye my hair. It feels healthy. Like
So
I
wonderful.
don't feel like an old lady, even though my numbers might say I am. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. That's fantastic. And I don't know the answer to this, but big picture has what you've done in your actions and behaviors and the wins that are objectively, you can just see it in your energy, the weight reduction, feeling great, et cetera. Has that influenced anybody else in your life? Honestly, I don't know the answer to this question. And if so, how?
Um, it has prompted a lot of discussion with a lot
Mhm.
of people.
Okay,
Particularly friends, if I haven't seen them for a while, and they're like, "Oh,
sure.
what are you doing?" And then, when we try to explain what you're doing, and you're like,
Mhm.
"Oh, that would never," they kind of immediately,
Right.
cut you off. But there's discussion
Yeah.
on it.
Okay.
And then I'd say with my husband and my son, they're really good about they'll try anything I make.
Sure.
And there were even times I said, "You guys don't have to finish this." When I was like, I'd try a recipe and I'd be like, "Oh, this is horrid."
Right.
They'd be like, "No, no, no, it's not bad." They'll eat anything, and I think
Mhm.
by default, obviously that's going to help them health wise, even if um, they will still have meat on the grill. And
Mhm.
when they do, I do a veggie burger on the grill, and
Yeah.
we all have corn and we all have other stuff. So,
Right.
um, I think that it has, I think it's influenced them in a positive way. And my husband's
Sure.
trying to go on a more healthy track. He's not ready to totally give up meat, but he eats less than he did, I'm sure.
Sure.
And I'm looking
Absolutely.
back. So,
Absolutely. Could you describe for the folks that are watching this, and again, this is just that typical client that's accepted the contract to go through the health of coaching with me in pursuit potentially of lifestyle changes like whole food, plant-based lifestyle. Are you like you're 100% perfect every day, Claire? Or tell me a little bit
I
about.
am so not.
Okay. Tell me
No,
about that.
I call myself like 80%
Okay.
whole food plant-based
Okay.
because I allow for the fact that and things are probably going to shut down again, but as things opened up, I was eating out more,
Mhm.
socializing with people more, and
Okay.
sometimes you just have to make do.
Yeah.
And I'll try to pick the healthiest choice on a menu if there's nothing that's really whole food plant-based, and I don't just want a plate of broccoli.
Right.
Um, and I'm not great all the time, and I'm going to admit it right now. I went to the
Yeah.
fair and I had a deep fried s'more, and it was amazing.
I
but
love it.
but I had had a salad earlier.
There you go. Yeah.
So I guess
Absolutely.
it's good that I didn't have a corn dog and that I
Right.
actually had like this Greek salad. So
Right.
it's I'm not perfect at all. And
Mhm.
I think I just try to do the best I can, and I'm try not to be hard on myself.
Mhm.
I I have borrowed books from my cousin who's vegan, and cookbooks, and I found some cool recipes in there.
Mhm.
They might have a tablespoon of olive oil in it here or there, and if you can go without it, fine. But if I just feel like I'm expanding
Mhm.
my horizons better, and just trying to do better.
Yeah.
I also the what helps is started taking the family favorite recipes of mine
Okay.
and adapting them to plant-based.
Okay.
And just doing things so that it still tasted about the same, looked the same.
Right.
And then it's not such a big change for me. And sometimes I just wanted heartier food. So
Sure.
I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I try.
Yeah,
So
I love it. And quite frankly, I'm sure they're out there, but I've never met anybody that was perfect in whole food plant-based. I'm very serious about it in my own personal life, and I'm certainly not perfect either. And it's so nice to hear that you give yourself grace, Claire, and you do the best you can. And big picture, your results are really you're happy with the fact that you lost 30 pounds. You're happy with your blood test all being normal, et
mhm.
cetera. So it's nice to hear that very real, very normal person that's doing this in the process and making it work for them.
I apologize if you hear my dog
No, no
barking.
worries.
The mailman's probably here.
No problem. We all got to get mail,
Yeah.
huh? So in pursuing this lifestyle of whole food plant-based, I just want to ask you real quick, what about anything else as it relates to the other lifestyles that you're working on in the process of being coached?
Um, I think the place that I need the most boost is probably movement and exercise.
Mhm.
I'm good now about making sure I walk between 5,000 and 7,000 steps a day.
Mhm.
I can get more when I'm
Yeah.
outside, but I'm a very fair weather exerciser. When it's hot and humid, I don't like to be a walk or
Yeah.
ride my bike. And if it's really cold and icy, I don't like to be outside either. So,
Sure.
um, but I've got contingency plans for the fall and winter coming up with,
Yeah.
hopefully going to exercise if the gyms don't shut down.
Absolutely.
And I, so that's been something that I work at. I check my steps throughout the
Mhm.
day. I do is this too distracting,
Not
Mike?
at
I can
all.
get my son to go
Totally
get,
not distracting. I'm
okay.
serious.
The dog, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
So they, I, yeah, I don't work at home much anymore, but when I worked at home, I really struggled because I wasn't getting my 5,000, 6,000,
Right.
7,000 steps.
Right.
And I would try to just go up 2 floors to go to the restroom
Mhm.
instead of the one on this level. And I would,
Mhm.
try to do, go outside with the dogs a couple times, just walk around and move more.
Yeah.
So that's probably
Okay.
something that I need to continue to work on.
Yeah. Okay.
It is nice to have the accountability that when you say, "Oh, how's your movement going?" I have to say, "Well,
Yeah.
look, I just didn't feel like walking for a month." It's
Yeah.
like it's nice to be able to say, "Yes, I've done it most of the time," or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Absolutely.
because exercise has always been it, kind of a struggle for me. I like to be outside. I like to walk. I like to garden, but
Right.
I have to be I'm helped if I have
Sure.
accountability or if I have a friend that'll knock at the door, which has happened and said, like, we're going for a walk. Come on.
Yeah.
So,
Very cool. Okay. Thank you for that. Last two questions. The first one is, what advice would you give to somebody that wants to pursue a whole food plant-based lifestyle? Maybe some things that come to your mind.
I would say, uh, I mean, I would say definitely do a little research, watch videos,
Hmm.
watch your videos on YouTube,
Hmm.
or, in a Facebook group or wherever,
Right.
and think about it and think about, do you want to start 1 or 2 days a week and see how it
Hmm.
goes? Do you want to, how do you want to do it, and and kind of have a game plan,
Okay.
and have maybe a list of things. And I know that another struggle I had was verbiage. I didn't know what things were. For
Right.
instance, nutritional yeast. I may have texted you from an aisle and said,
Right.
is this the same as nutritional yeast, holding
Right.
up something because I didn't know.
Definitely.
So it's kind of nice to get a little knowledge under your belt before you
Hmm.
actually go out and start trying to find things for recipes. And I found I also needed more spices and
Hmm.
things that I had in my
Yeah.
cabinet. So just maybe looking at some recipes and thinking, well, say, you know, Mexican food sounds good because there's beans, there's this, there's that,
Right.
and then start looking at recipes and see if you have all the spices for it. And because I found I was the first few times I spent a lot of money buying
Yeah.
spices that I didn't have. But just trying to get prepared for success, because it's
Yeah.
hard when you have a bunch of things and you're not sure what to do
Right.
with them. They're healthy for you.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that really saved me sometimes is when I just didn't know what to eat for dinner.
Mhm.
I would bake a potato or bake a sweet potato and eat that.
Yeah.
Just to be eating something, and I know
Right.
it's healthy, and I
Yeah.
just couldn't put something together.
Yeah.
So, and just trial and error,
There
and
you go.
patience, because it takes a while.
Yeah.
It really does take a while
Yeah.
to get in the groove. So,
Yeah. Very, very good advice. I wrote a lot of that down. I know I can watch this video afterwards, but that's extremely helpful. Last question I have, and just big picture. I'd like to know just overall how you feel the health coaching has helped you. We're going to transition. We really only have about 5 minutes left, and I
okay.
just want to hear big picture. I've been working with you for about a year and a half, and just where has the benefit been for Claire as it relates to the health coaching process?
Um, I think it's twofold. One is just getting information,
Mhm.
telling you what I'm struggling with, and you being able to either give me, advice or an answer, or be able to say, let me look at some recipes and send them to you. Just getting that help,
Sure.
number one. And number two is, like I mentioned, with the exercise, the accountability factor,
Mhm.
that and I mean, at first I was probably nervous to say, oh, I really screwed up for a few
Mhm.
days, but now I have no problem, saying
Of course.
I had a rough week. I ate out almost every night, and I know it wasn't the greatest, but
Yeah.
so, and the exercise for sure. So I think those two things, the accountability and the ability to get almost instant information and feedback on something,
Sure.
um, it is the best thing. Also, that I remember I texted you, I found something that was like plant-based yogurt and it looked great. It was,
Mhm.
and I sent it to you and I'm like, look what I found. And you're, well,
Yeah.
maybe for a treat. I for
Yeah.
all the time. But yeah, so just, yeah, getting us through, and knowing that, and you shared your stories too. I mean, I
Mhm.
still to this day will, I keep things in my freezer,
Mhm.
that uh, you know plant-based burgers that I've bought from Food Fantasies or something,
Right.
just to have something quick, be able to join my family who's cooking out on the grill.
Yeah.
It's okay
Yeah.
to do that kind of stuff if that's what you need.
Yeah.
And I still almost consider myself in a state of transition, because
Okay.
you know
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to emphasize that it's definitely not about perfection. It's all about progress.
mhm.
And if you're in a good place, then that's where you want to be. And ultimately that's the goal, whether that's mental, spiritual, health, physical, etc. But great information, Claire. I really appreciate you taking the time to share this with me, and then those other clients that are coming aboard, that are making this transition in their life. Any final thoughts before we close it out?
No, not really. I just, to you, thank you for all your help. And if there's a, potential person watching this, I would certainly suggest giving it a shot. I'm very, very much want to live as long as I can to enjoy this grandchild and any future ones, and
Yay.
and have a good, healthy, active life. So I hope that you do as well, people
Yeah,
out there.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me stop the recording here.
Okay.
Try to anyway. Let's see here. Stop.